I'm Cheryl Scott. I'm Managing Director, Founder of KE Radio.
Gary Hector here. It's a Tuesday night. You're listening to Breaking Live Show Tuesday, 6 p.m. GMT with Cheryl Scott on KE Radio. Yeah, man.
It was never a plan of mine. I've been a singer, performer for about 17 years now, and a few years back I joined a drama group as well because I always wanted to act. And while I was there, one of the women had said to me, "Oh, you'd sound great on the radio," and I thought, really? So there was a local radio station that went out once a year for a month, you know, short-term licence thing, and she introduced me to the owner of that, and I did a show and I was pretty poor, I think, really nervous. And after a couple of weeks I settled in and I loved it. And then it finished because it was only that 1 month for the Christmas time. A few months later they got back in touch with me and said they were going to start a 24/7 online radio for the same station. And I said, yeah, I'll try that. So I did a show every day, every weekday for a while. But it was a different beast for them. They were doing like 1 month intense FM, and then suddenly they had 24/7 every day. And it never really went anywhere. I got talking to a guy in Ayr and he had his own online radio station. So I started simultaneously doing the one show and the two stations. And I got thinking about it. I could see the one I joined, I don't want to mention names, but wasn't going to last much longer. So I'd started thinking about I could do this. But what I wanted to do, I was playing just like chart stuff, classic rock, etc. I'd been introduced to the local music scene in Ayrshire, and it was awesome. I couldn't believe that some of the acts I'd seen weren't doing better, because the talent was definitely there. So I had a few meetings in Kilmarnock to see if people were interested, to see what they already listened to radio, and surprisingly a lot of people did, and they listened to the local FM station, but they weren't happy with it. So I come up with this formula for KE Radio, which one of our taglines is 50% of local, new, up-and-coming artists. And we set it up. And at first, I got inundated with people. There was about 50 people who joined us. And in hindsight, it was too many. And it kind of stumbled into existence, I would say. We got our studio and we set it up, and looking back it was really manic and fun, but it was also very stressful. But that was kind of how it came about. The guy who ran the FM station, he was very helpful and gave me a lot of pointers and guides and stuff. He was coming from an FM. Now we wanted to be FM, but the costs involved are extraordinary. Also, we made a decision after we started that the internet, DAB is the future. FM is dying. So we kind of dropped the FM thing. So a lot of his information was to do with Ofcom, etc., which we're still guided by on the internet, but you're free to do more. But the ethos that I've got is we run it like an FM station, and we don't let the standards drop at all. So he was a big help, I've got to say. Since starting up, I've had a lot of people who've worked on radio for many years. I've came along and probably polished us up. I think where we are now to where we were 3 years ago is night and day. It was actually pretty easy, to be fair. Like I say, I held a few meetings in Kilmarnock because I thought at first it would only be interesting to the people Kilmarnock and surrounding districts. And at first it was lukewarm, and a couple of people actually laughed at me. I said, "A radio station? You?" I can remember one person in particular, again I'm not going to mention names, who became a big supporter of the radio station. There'd been talk about people setting up their own radio station for a while, and they thought they needed a lot of money for it. And yeah, in one way you should do it that way. If you've got 50 grand lying about, you can set it up. But what I did was, basically, because I'd been an entertainer, I had a lot of equipment. I'm also an IT specialist, so I knew the computer side of things. I had a lot of spare equipment. So I could set it up that way, just needed somewhere to do it. And through a contact we got word of an empty space. It used to be a rehearsal studio, and we moved in there. Once I actually got the studio, I didn't need to convince anyone. Everyone jumped on it. And as in anything in life, you get some good people and you get some bad people. Some people wanted to be there to kind of boast that I'm on a radio station, and other people wanted to be there to work. The people that wanted to boast that were on the radio station are not here now, and the ones that wanted to work are still here. No, I branched out further. I've learned through my own entertainment and having a group, if you're relying on friends and family to be your only support, it's good to have it. It's always good to have it, but if you rely on that, it's a kind of makes a falseness of it, you know. You think you're doing well because all your friends and family, oh, it's so good, it's so good. But if you get into the real world, people will tell you, no, it's not, I don't quite like what you're doing there, and you get better feedback. I've got to watch what I'm saying, because friends and family, if they watch this, will go, oh, you don't like, but it's not that. It's just, if my family came to me and said, what do you think of this? You tend to, oh, that's nice, even if it's not. And you've got to, I think if you do anything in any circle at all, you need people to, without bringing you down, obviously, not just telling you you're rubbish for the sake of it, just, well, I don't like that, can you change it? And I think there's, I'd say a good percentage of people were like that. And I also had people that worked like the BBC and STV in the past who had known through my entertainment, gave me a lot of advice and encouragement, and that's never really stopped, to be honest. There's still people coming in. Loads, absolutely hundreds. One of the things was, I've always kind of worked for myself. I've had the jobs, went to college, etc. So you're working with people. But when I was doing my entertainment and my IT, it was very much one person thing. I had one company for IT and one company for my entertainment, DJing and stuff. So though you are working with people all the time, I was only answered to myself. Suddenly, it just exploded. I had 52 people at one time. I'd never been in charge of anyone else before. So the biggest problem was people. And everybody was pulling you all ways. I think we should do it this way. And at first I think I listened to too many people. I had it in my head, this is the way we're going with this. And people, oh no, we need to be more like commercial radio stations and play, I don't know, again, I don't like mentioning names, but your chart hits and stuff. And I said no, because that's well catered for in the world. I was passionate by this time on the local music scene, and I still am. And I think if you're going to set anything up new, and I do this in my life, is be different, always be different. With an eye to, is it commercially going to be okay? I think that's a long-term thing. You've got to convince people that this music is worth investing in. I think my biggest problem is convincing local businesses that if I'm going to play Mechanical Smile, for instance, or Soldier On, most business people won't have heard of them. So they're, well, who's going to listen to that? So I've got to convince them and show them the figures that there is an audience for it. It might not be BBC with 10 million people a day, but so I think the two things were, the biggest things were people that came had no real interest in pushing the project forward, but pushing themselves forward, wanted to be famous, whatever that might mean, and convincing other businesses to invest in you. And that's an ongoing thing. It's whenever I approach somebody new there, so what are you playing? Who are these people? So once you play them to them and sometimes introduce them to the acts, and we hold nights every month, gig nights, and we invite people along, and they'll leave a different idea of the local area. Because that was one of the big things about starting it, was to have something positive about Ayrshire and the west of Scotland. Basically the talent drove it. A few people that came on board to do shows as well weren't convinced, because they wanted to play whatever they were interested in and what was out in the mainstream, whether it be Oasis or Rolling Stones or whatever. And I had to play these acts to them, and they bought into it, and it's very satisfying, because it's easy. It's very easy, I think, to play what's already popular, but to try bring something new to the table. People don't like change, and I don't know who these are. But what I did get was a kind of groundswell from the grassroots people who knew these bands. Oh, wow, great, they're on your radio. Oh wow, we're going to go for that. And like I say, I don't think we'll ever have 10 million people just tuning in for the sake of it, like Radio 1 or something, but we do okay. We do okay, and the number of artists we've had come through the doors is into the thousands now. It's been very satisfying in that way. I've achieved some success, not where I would like it to be, but yeah, I think so. I think identified a need, and I bought into that. And I have noticed many people of other radio stations are now, there was one in Edinburgh who done 12 minutes a week on local music in his area. 12 minutes he had time to maybe play a couple of tracks and talk about what was happening. Within about 6 months as I was starting, that had been up to an hour, and then he actually left that station and now he's in another station in Fife where he gets 2 hours a week. Another local station in Ayrshire is now, one of their DJs is very big on the local scene and interviewing people, and he's actually interviewed myself and my band. And it's great, because one of the things in my business plan was to have 100 K radios. And I don't mean my K radio, this concept. Every wee community have their own, and we'd have a groundswell of what punk rock did. It came from below and up and blew away the artificialness that it's, to my mind, for the last 25 years has populated popular music. There's always good bands, really talented people, but the mainstream has been basically your X Factor generation, which, well, I don't know if anybody watching likes that kind of thing, but I kind of detest it. It's false. So if I was to inspire, like I say, another 100 K radios in Alloa, and that I would measure that in success, even though materially I would not get any of that. But it's just starting something. And one of our other tags is we started a whisper that went round the world. And we have, on Thursday nights at midnight, we have 8 hours American shows. We have had gigs in Texas we did last year for K Radio. Obviously I wasn't there, wish I was. We've got people in Japan, we've had Colombia, Brazil, Argentina, South Africa, people doing shows. Some of them are one-off shows and some of them have been, like the Japanese show is Ray, she does every Tuesday night. It's a kind of talk, relaxation show, and the American thing's really taken off. We're really big in America, probably bigger there than we are here, funnily enough. I'm very reluctant to say what I think. I think it's for other people to judge, is it successful or isn't it? As I say, from my original business plan, I was going to be a millionaire next week. Once you get into business, you get a dose of realism and realise it's not going to be quite as easy or quick as that. Might never happen. I'm proud of what we've set up. I'm proud of what K Radio is and what it means to a lot of people around the world. In that respect, we're very successful. every country in the world, I think we've got listeners and people know about us. So in that respect, yeah, commercial success may come, may not. You know, once start driving a Rolls Royce or something, that might be considered success to some people. I would love for one of the many artists that we've featured to really break through and become massive stars. And for my personal side, I would just, I interviewed them first. I was the first person to play them on any radio station. I understand these artists who played in K Radio and might come in for an interview, and then they'll go on to, I suppose BBC in the country is the biggest place to be, and there's a few people now starting to get regular appearances on like Radio 1, Radio 6 and stuff. I have great satisfaction in that. I love it. And someday, like I say, there'll be one of these acts will play Hampden Park in front of 50,000 people, and I can just kind of, yes. It's like interviewing the Beatles before they were famous. You know, it's that kind of feeling, I think. And if nobody ever makes it, they'll still have fun. Don't. No. It depends on what level you want to go in. If we're talking to like media students, they've maybe got their eye on working again for somebody like the BBC, who I'd imagine is the pinnacle of that kind of, or a big commercial station. But if you don't have the facility to get into there, then enjoy one of your local stations. There's plenty of them about, each at different levels, if you like, into different markets. Get the experience in first. As a local station, maybe like here. I mean, there's nothing, our setup is probably anything like the big commercials or BBC, but it gives you a good grounding, give you a bit of experience, and you can take that. Radio's fun. It's absolutely, I lost sight of that for a while, but it's so much fun playing music, and if you're playing the music for the first time anywhere, you get such a buzz from that. And you might be playing somebody if they release one track and never release another one in their life, but to that moment in time when I'm playing the Jimmy Joes from Las Vegas or something, I've just made that up. You've got that bond, they're listening in and I'm playing it, and you can't beat that. For me anyway, you can't beat that, because I know what it means to be an artist and for somebody to take interest. And I think at the end of the day, if you're going to work in media, don't lose sight of how much fun it is. I've got a regular show 6 to 8 on a Tuesday evening. It's Greenwich Mean Time, and that is solely new music, and people write in every week. My mailbox fills up daily with people sending me music, so I've got to wade through that and pick 2 hours of music. I usually always run out of time every week to play, and that's fun. Also, a show go out 1 PM to 4 weekdays, Monday to Thursday actually, which is more mainstream stuff, because one of the things, what advice I took, the daytime hours from 8 till 6 roughly, should be more mainstream, though I kind of regale against that, but I can understand the commercial reasons for doing that, because that's your money time. And if you're wanting to attract these businesses, I dug my heels in early days, said no, we're not playing, but I've softened my attitude to that through advice and just what I've observed myself. People do want to hear Bon Jovi or Oasis or whoever it might be, but what I try to do is mix that with whoever's local as well, and I think they stand together, because these days people can, at home or in college or whatever, can produce work that's at the standard of the big companies.